I invite you to stand for the national anthem of Jamaica. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite you to journey back with me. It is March 14, 2019, exactly 7 years and 1 month ago. It is a beautiful sunny morning in Kingston at a ballroom not far from here. An activity not too different from this once happened. That was the very first launch of what would turn out to be the most catalytic, thought-provoking, transformative form of discourse amongst public sector employees. It has become a most anticipated activity on the calendar of events for the public sector. From the very first moot, be it resolved that public sector transformation is not a priority of the government of Jamaica, but of multilateral organizations such as the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, and the International Monetary Fund, IMF. To our last moot in 2025, be it resolved that addressing mental health challenges requires societal reform more than individual treatment. The competition has explored topics that have not only opened the minds of our people, but has put public service employees in a position where they have a voice to share their thoughts on how policy is shaped. Can we just take a moment to look around the room and look at some of the familiar faces? Because you have been debating against some of these people before. And over the past 5 stagings of the competition, we've seen some of these faces. Some teams have played in every single iteration of the competition, while others participated, took a break, and now they're back. And every year, we welcome brand new teams eager to make their mark, and this year is no different. We will have the roll call a little later, and I know I'm going to hear some excitement about the teams, whether you are returning, new, or back from a break. The 2025 staging was one for the books. You had to be there to really know what happened. But to quote one of the songs that was played over the last weekend during the road festivities, last year was good, but we're chasing greatness. This year, I know where the revelers are now. This year will be bigger, and this year will be better. That's it. I'm going to give you a few reasons why. To start with, we have a record number of registered teams, up from 26 to 32 teams for this year. What's the team makeup? Well, this year, we have 22 teams returning from last year's competition, 4 teams returning after a break, and 6 new teams ready to show exactly what they're made of. Now, yes, that's a moment for applause. One of the things that I absolutely love seeing is how resplendent you all look in your branded outfits. You know, who has on a pin, their shirt that says debate team. So you know somebody in senior leadership in your organization is very committed to this process. And I know you'll also be taking lots of photos, especially today. There is a hashtag for the debate competition. It is hashtag PSDebateJA2026, or hashtag again, PSDebateJA2026. So use it whenever and wherever you post on social media. And also, if you're not yet following the TIU, and you should by now, because there is a social media element to this competition, you can follow them on Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube at TIU_Jamaica, and on Facebook at TIU Jamaica. Let's get this conversation trending, shall we? Now, on your behalf, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to specially recognize some persons who are with us today. Principal and Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Denzel Williams. Ms. Maria Thompson-Walters, Executive Director of the Transformation Implementation Unit. Mr. Jermaine Barrett, Founder and Executive Director of the Jamaican Association for Debating and Empowerment. And we also appreciate the support from senior executives of the participating entities who are here to support their teams. Now, while I would love to give the grand welcome myself, the person to do just that is Ms. Maria Thompson-Walters, Executive Director of the Transformation Implementation Unit. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give her a warm welcome.
Good morning, everybody. So, for the public officers that are in the room this morning, this competition is more than an event. It is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to sharpen how you think, strengthen how you communicate, and position yourself as someone who can influence change within the public service and ultimately support your own career within this public service of ours. This is what the debate competition has come to represent over the past 5 years. Today, I am not just welcoming you to a launch. I am welcoming you to a platform for growth, visibility, and impact. How you invest that is up to you. Thank you, Kamisha. Principal and Pro-Vice Chancellor, University of the West Indies, Mona, Professor Denzel Williams, senior representatives of participating entities, Founder and Executive Director of JADE, Mr. Jermaine Barrett, members of the TIU, members of JADE, debating teams, members of the media, again, good morning. I am delighted to warmly welcome you all to launch our 5th staging of the Public Sector Debates Competition. I know I say this every year, but this year I really am particularly pleased because we have the highest number of teams participating. But more than that is that we have grown every single year since we started. Talk about growth. And this year, I must admit, the communications team at TIU and I had to have a serious conversation because we had to find additional funding to accommodate the 32 registered teams. And they were registered before the deadline. We didn't reach out and say, you're not interested, you're not interested. No, they were registered before the deadline. But one of the things that we were adamant about is that we would not say no to any team that wanted to participate. Since our original launch in 2019, this competition is a key calendar event within the public sector. I have said this at every single welcome, and I will continue to say it until it changes. This is the only such platform that brings the entire public sector together. And we have to recognize how invaluable that is, because the exchange of ideas and points of view is what will eventually transform our public sector. It has been nothing but sheer joy on my part to watch the teams compete in a spirit of friendly rivalry, mutual respect, and determination. To date, we have directly engaged more than 400 public sector workers from 44 entities. With the added 6 new teams this year, that makes it 50 entities. These debaters over the past 4 stagings have contributed such brilliant and transformational policy recommendations that we encourage you all to think about the change that you want to see in the public sector. Paternity leave, that idea came from the debate competition. I believe that this staging will continue the trend of sound arguments and policy suggestions that is going to positively impact how we do work in our public sector. As a people generally, Jamaicans are full of ideas. And as my mother used to say, we're full of chat. But this competition ensures that those ideas are not just discussed, but developed, tested, and strengthened in a way that can shape the place that we work and Jamaica as a whole, because that is the impact of public sector workers. Gone are the days when we are passive, standby persons just looking at what's happening and reacting to what is going on in our country. Your voice is not only important, it is an asset. This competition gives you a platform to sharpen your voice, to be heard, and not just heard, but to be heard effectively, to influence real outcomes in the public sector, to shape the public sector that we want. It is also interesting, the mix of ages and gender in this competition. And yes, you see, I'm sporting my gray hairs. When I started, none. But we all represent the future of the public service. And it is good that we have stepped forward, irrespective of age and gender, to say, I want my voice to be heard through this competition. I'm also pleased that you have consistently rated the competition favorably. In our last survey, because at TIU, we measure what we do. We don't just talk about it, we measure it, we prove it. So in our last survey, 97.3% indicated that the competition enhanced your critical thinking skills and increased your confidence in public speaking. Skills that are essential not just for debating, but carrying out your normal duties, presenting your ideas to your superiors, making decisions about your career and for career advancement in the public sector. To quote one respondent, I think that the competition has offered participants a lot of growth and development. Last year's change to the competition had an inclusion of an additional preliminary round. It was so well received that we have decided to keep it as a permanent feature of the competition. This means that all 32 teams will get a chance to play at least 2 matches before the elimination round. More opportunities for growth. As in previous stagings, we encourage you to embrace the evolving technology. However, we caution strongly and encourage the responsible use of artificial intelligence. Use it to enhance, but not to replace your own abilities. As we mark this 5th staging, we look forward to seeing you engage one another at the highest level with sound reasoning, strong evidence, and genuine passion. I encourage you to engage with each mood, enjoy the camaraderie and the competition. Show up with confidence. Don't pay attention to the other team and their noise. Focus on you and yours. Show up with confidence and professionalism and a willingness and openness to grow, because what you gain here will extend far beyond this competition. Our partners, the Jamaica Association for Debating and Empowerment, and I can honestly say without our partners, we would not have this competition. They are our stewards. They will ensure the competition is conducted in a fair manner. They will provide training over the next 2 days to enhance your preparation for the debate. Jade, your partnership is more than instrumental in our success. We have enjoyed over the years working with you, and we thank you. With that, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues all, welcome, welcome, welcome to the launch of the 2026 Public Sector Debates Competition. Best of luck. I will see you at the matches now and for the next years.
Maria Thompson-Walters, ladies and gentlemen, reminding us that this competition has been such a platform for growth and visibility and impact. And that statistic, you have engaged more than 400 public sector workers from 50 ministries, departments, and agencies. Isn't that amazing? Wow. Now, Maria, I will say, you gave a nod to your hair. And I always tell people when mine pop up, I'm too young to have grays. I have white gold. So given that, there is no correlation between stress-caused graying, Maria, and this competition, because I know it has brought you a lot of joy. Those may not be grays. It's just you just got some natural platinum. Don't worry about it. So what we know, ladies and gentlemen, is that undoubtedly the competition has grown and is making an impact. The TIU tells us that they exceed the targets set for the competition every single year, and that is also positive. Now, ladies and gentlemen, yes, please. I now invite you to turn your attention to the screens as we reflect on the competition over the years.
Every year they come ready, ready to challenge, ready to defend, ready to be remembered. Who will rise? Who will hold their nerve? Who will take the crown? This is more than debate. It is bold thinking, sharp delivery, public sector excellence on display.
I hear my opponents keep on speaking about hanging people, but yet they have not spoken about the right of those who have been killed by these people. Are you an advocate for criminals? Ladies and gentlemen, we are advocating for the right of innocent people. You and I, we are advocating for you. You have a right to live the life that the death penalty may say is yours. Very well.
As there's a multitude of triggers, including loneliness, which is a major trigger for mental health challenges, are you going to give everyone a boyfriend? How does broad reform model address this?
We're not asking you to give everybody a boyfriend. People are lonely because they are struggling and they are stressed out from financial insecurity, from food insecurity, from homelessness. We need societal reform to address these drivers of loneliness so that they're not feeling those ways, if you understand where I'm coming from.
Brings my mind to a human being who may be 50 years old, who is unconscious in a coma. Do we then consider this individual inhuman and therefore having no rights to terminate their life by pulling the plug?
Champions have risen. New contenders have emerged. Veterans have returned sharper, wiser, stronger. The stage has seen passion, precision, pressure, and moments you can't forget. Trelawney made history.
What you are doing is dividing. That is not the vision of the vision, because the entire vision is not going to be attained unless the outcomes are met.
Finance and the public service proved resilience.
These brazen, cold-hearted, sinister individuals have no regard for life or respect for the law, and so they require greater punishment. We have seen the news stories. Police stations under attack, beryllium officers taking cover, and we recognize we cannot play footsie with these criminals. We are living through the worst of the worst crimes.
Justice raised the bar.
Think of the gag clause not as a muzzle, but rather as a safety on a gun. The rule is you only shoot when you want to kill, and the gag clause prevents you from accidentally killing someone's reputation, character, and career. We only shoot when we are sure that for us the proposition, after the tabling of a final report from the Integrity Commission before Parliament.
Agriculture dominated the moment.
What about universal access to health care? What about public education to remove the stigma around these mental illnesses? Let me tell you, individual treatment does not offer any of that. It does not offer solvency for everybody. It might offer solvency for an individual. This is where the limit of opposition's model is clear. Individual treatment assumes that people are self-aware, financially capable, and socially supported, but many are not. There's a growing population, especially among the poor, whose conditions have gone untreated for years due to stigma, neglect, and systemic inaccessibility.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
This platform is not just a competition. It is ideas in motion, policy in conversation, Transformation in real time.
This competition transcends the competition space and has influenced policy solutions, such as the introduction of paternity leave to make the public sector a better place to work. You have demonstrated that you possess the skills and expertise to research, present information, and embrace new ways of thinking on a wide variety of subject matters. Most importantly, you have gained a greater respect for the complexity of ideas and learned how to criticize in a productive way based on facts and logic. By delving into issues such as governance, transparency, accountability, technological advancement, and public service delivery, participants have demonstrated a profound understanding of the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for all of us.
Today we launch the 5th staging. Who will seize the moment? Who will own the floor?
The winner of the public sector debate competition for 2019, Trelawney Municipal Corporation.
They are the 2023 winners of the public sector debate competition, second lip staging. That team is the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service.
This was indeed a match befitting the grand finals of this august competition. The champions of the public sector debate competition for 2024 is the team from, drum roll, give me a drum roll. All right, Ministry of Justice.
The public sector debate competition 2025. The winners of this grand finals contest. The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining. Team proposition.
Who will be crowned the next champion of the public sector debate competition?
What a journey down memory lane. Did you see yourself? Yeah? Okay. I saw myself from 2019, you know. What an impactful initiative this has been. And for those of us who have tuned in over the years, we cannot help but wonder indeed, which team will triumph this year? I like when people speak things into being, you know. I love the confidence already in the room. Now, while we ponder on that, we have the distinct honor and company of Pro Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of the West Indies, Mona, Professor Denzel Williams. Professor Williams will deliver the main address. He's a renowned academic in the field of business and management. He is a professor of international business, former principal of the UE 5 Islands campus, and also the former Pro Vice Chancellor, Industry, Academic Partnerships and Planning at the UWI. He has an impressive academic resume and has built a career in business and academia for over 22 years. Professor Williams has held a remarkable record of public service, research, and scholarly work while serving on a number of boards and state entities, private sector organizations, and committees, as well as regional and international editorial boards. Let's make him welcome to deliver what I guess will be a thought-provoking and inspiring charge. Professor Williams.
Thank you so much, Madam Master of Ceremonies. What the chairperson didn't tell you, she said this year people are looking for greatness, but what she didn't say is that this is the encore. And so I looked at the reflections from last year, and we can say, ladies and gentlemen, that this year is indeed going to be bigger and better. And I would like to use this opportunity to just congratulate the persons who have been behind this very, very important initiative. I will stand on the protocols that have been observed, and I will just use this opportunity, given the brief moments I have, and I apologize for my lateness as well, but I also have to run right after this to get to the airport like in a few minutes. But I would like to use this opportunity to say welcome to everybody and to appreciate the gravity of this event, and to just thank you all for what I think is a very progressive idea of the public sector debate competition. And after Mario spoke, it's very difficult for me to say anything else. But I would like to use this opportunity to just give a few thoughts and some ideas. So let me recognize the Executive Director. Let me recognize Mr. Barrett from JADE as well, our Mistress of Ceremonies, and all of the very distinguished members of the public sector in Jamaica this morning. So this debate competition that is being organized by the Transformation Unit is indeed, in my view, one of the very progressive ideas that as a country we can all fully embrace and go behind. It is really a space that we can use to generate critical ideas and provide evidence-based analysis among the public sector workers as they assist us to facilitate Jamaica's development. And I think that is indeed something that we ought to treasure, because not very many places have this kind of space where we can actually exercise what I would call friendly rivalry and generate innovative ideas from those. I want to really be associated with this competition today. I must also commend the organizers for this kind of forum, which I think is an important pillar for civil service and professional persons to have a dialogue among themselves about how they can facilitate Jamaica's development while ensuring good governance and strong accountability. So this process that you're in, it is not just a competition, but I think it's a platform for innovative ideas, that you can use this to shape ideas that is going to be critical towards the facilitation of our development as we move forward. So this is where I want to make a few points as it relates to how this competition can be used to assist innovation and also improve our own performance as a nation. So the debates, as you know, are organized along the lines of themes and moods and all of those kinds of things, and people do their research and they come with great ideas and they put forward an idea and somebody conjecture the idea and then we refute the ideas. I don't know how many of you have actually read called Popper's Conjecture and Refutation. Popper's Conjecture and Refutation is indeed a very important piece of work in epistemology, because in essence what Popper is saying is that you cannot ever get to truth, but the closest you can come to truth is through conjecture and refutation. And if you put something out there and it can't be falsified, then you can't come to truth. Because if you think truth is a universal concept, then think twice. And what the debates have done is to help you to shape the narrative around how you provide a retort to a conjecture and allow the next person to think through, how do I now provide evidence-based to support my position, and you continue the conjecture and refutation until you get to a place what Popper calls verisimilitude. And verisimilitude is that idea that you will never get to ultimate truth, but you will come close to something that we can all coalesce around. And what that does, it provides you, in my view, with a place for tolerance. And I've always said to people, this is what debates do to you. It gives you a chance to become tolerant of different ideas. And without tolerance, you will never get innovation. If you adhere to this principle that your truth is the only truth, then we have a problem. We have a big problem because we will never grow. So what this competition is going to do is to allow you to conjecture, provide refutation, and get to verisimilitude. And once you get there, we find to a place where we can coalesce around the common good. So I really want to applaud the organizers for taking us down this road, and I want to encourage you that this is something that you should continue with, because over time, you're going to see the value being reflected in a stronger, more accountable, more innovative, and more productive public service. So congratulations to all of you. But today, I would like to add a spin in terms of your moot, Mario, that you may want to consider. It may not be for the fifth staging, but sometime down the line, or just within your normal course of having discourses about development. And that is to look at the merits or the demerits of conceptualizing Jamaica's development challenge in a different way. So for a very long time, we have agreed, or we have kind of formed a consensus that Jamaica's development challenge is a fiscal issue. And so we say the economy is not growing. And so we say we have bad policy choices. And we debate these things and say which policy choice will carry us out. And I could give a whole debate about economic development starting in the 1960s and the kind of models that we have used, and we have perused different models from plantation economy coming to neoliberalism and all of that stuff. So we have debated that. But have we ever stopped to think that just maybe our developmental challenge needs to be reconceptualized in a new way if we're going to achieve the broader mission and vision of the place of choice to live, work, and raise your family. And I am submitting today that at some point in your deliberations about the debate, to reconceptualize our developmental challenge as one of value added. And why do I say this? There is this kind of consensus emerging that Jamaica's real challenge to its development is one of productivity. And so we say, Jamaicans are not productive. And because you're not productive, you can't grow. And there's kind of this consensus emerging around that thinking. But let us stop for a moment to think about what is productivity, and if or whether or not productivity is the true test of the challenge. So productivity means that you're doing more with less. Yes, let us accept that for the time being. This is a room filled with orange trees. And we're picking the oranges and we're selling the oranges, and we multiply the number of oranges we sell by the price, and we get our GDP. So we pick 1,000 oranges, we sell the oranges at $1, we get $1,000, and that's our GDP. And each year we pick orange and we grow, and we say next year we pick 1,200 and all of that stuff. But do you recognize that why they say our problem is a productivity one? If you were to assume this room is the United States of America, I'm just using this as a comparator, And they said they are 3 times more productive than Jamaica. And this is year 1 and you're picking oranges. And you put the United States workers in this room. By the end of the year, they pick 1,000 oranges. And they sell them. Flip the chart and say this is Jamaica in the same room. And you pick oranges. But because you're 3 times less productive, they pick 1,000 in the year, you pick only 300. And they say to us, if Jamaica should pick 1,000 oranges, we're going to be better off. We're going to be wealthy. And that is true to a point. So if they up the productivity of the Jamaican worker, and the Jamaican worker says, okay, last year I picked only 300 oranges. Next year I'm going to pick 600 oranges. So they say, yes, Jamaica has more output. Okay, fine. But then you recognize that after you pick the oranges and you sell the oranges for $1 per orange and you get $1,000, you pick 1,000 oranges, your GDP remains at $1,000. But then some guy from China takes your orange, converts that orange to orange juice, and orange juice automatically selling for $3. What you now recognize is that China's GDP is 3 times yours. So yes, you can pick the 1,000 oranges, but if you have not added value to those oranges, you limit the level of growth that you have. And so the question becomes, is it merely a productivity issue or is it a value-added issue? And I am contending that if Jamaica ought to achieve that level of growth and sustainability and all those things that matter, while the fiscal is necessary, it is not sufficient. What is sufficient is for Jamaica to move up the value chain. Move from basic commodities. Move from just picking oranges to start making orange juice. Move from just milking the cow and taking the cow's milk and converting that to cheese and go up the value chain and talk about all kind of quality cheese and stuff. Move from picking cocoa beans up to chocolate and all kind of fine chocolate, and you get the value from that. That's the way that you're going to improve your output in a significant way. Not through merely increased productivity. Because you can be productive at the same thing. You can be productive at picking more oranges. But picking more oranges will not give you the value added. So the real question becomes, where is your real development challenge? And I am saying to you today that I think that the real development challenge that we face is one of value added. We have to move up the value chain. In the age of artificial intelligence and big data and all of these wonderful things that are taking place in the technology era, the truth is that we should not see them as substitute for what we do, but we see them as complement that is going to help us to move up the value chain. So I tell the people at my university, do not stop the students from using ChatGPT. The teacher should not go into the class and say, don't use ChatGPT. What ChatGPT will now do for the education sector and for persons like myself is to allow you to be much more innovative and creative in the way you teach. So, if I were teaching, for example, basic finance, and in those of you who know finance, you will know that there is a standard formula that we teach in financial management. It's called the capital asset pricing model. When you and I were growing up, Maria, they would have told us as a child that the beta was always risk-free. Always risk-free. And so we got up in life and we said, beta plus blah, blah, blah. And we got our nice formula and said, this is the return on our investment. And we calculate that through the capital asset pricing model. Today, as a student, you don't need to remember the formula for the capital asset pricing model. It is somewhere in ChatGPT. It is somewhere there. As a teacher, my challenge is not to come to the class and ask you to recall the formula for the capital asset pricing model. What I am supposed to do now is to give you a scenario and say to you, if these conditions exist, what could be your return on investment? When you start now doing application, it is for the student to know that based on this scenario that you just gave me, it is a capital asset pricing model that must be applied to find my answer to get my return on my investment. When you start doing that, it changes the game because ChatGPT is not going to do that for you. So it is complementing what you do, and that is how you get up the value chain. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to suggest that as we think through this issue about our own development, we should debate the merits of productivity versus value added. Debate the merits of, can productivity lead you to long-term sustainable growth, or do you need to move up the value chain for long-term sustainable growth? And in that scenario, what you will find is that the discussion becomes even more critical, because companies now will have to say, should I focus on just improving the productivity of my employees, or should I focus on improving the value added of my corporation? Take, for example, Tate & Lyle. If I ask you today, what do you associate Tate & Lyle with? What would you say? Exactly. Everybody's going to say sugar. But Tate & Lyle has now moved away from being a company that is dealing with sugar. You know what Tate & Lyle said that they are now? They're an ingredients company. They're not a company that deals with sugar. So this is what Tate & Lyle said in their own words, brothers and sisters. They said they are not merely a seller of commodity sugar. They are now an ingredients company helping customers to live a healthier lifestyle. This is what they say about themselves. We create high-value specialty ingredients and solutions that meet growing global consumer demand for healthier, tastier, and more sustainable food and drink. That is what you call moving up the value chain. They are no more just talking about Tate & Lyle, the sugar company. They're now talking about Tate & Lyle, a company that has gone up the value chain, moving from merely just taking commodity sugar and selling these sugary things. And they're talking about themselves as an ingredients company. But it is not far-fetched that even within our own context here in Jamaica, that our companies have started to emerge to look at value added. This is what Grace Kennedy, CEO, said. In a recent article, Mr. Frank James, CEO of Grace Kennedy, in a March 17 article in The Observer, Mr. James said, what we would certainly encourage is that the SCT is structured in a way that promotes reformulation. Long before the SCT, Grace Kennedy has been exploring ways to reduce sugar content while maintaining flavor and quality. Reformation refers to the process of altering recipes, composition of production methods in a product in order to improve nutritional profile. This will help companies to meet new consumer preference and gain more than consumer spend. What Frank James is saying is that Grace Kennedy is not, again, just seen merely as a food conglomerate. Grace Kennedy is now moving to a company that is talking about how do we support consumer lifestyle. That is moving up the value chain. Reformulation of their sugary drink and their thing to say, how do we now go up the value chain to get better outputs, better drinks for our company? So this, my friends, is really what we're talking about, moving up the value chain. If we do not get a country like Jamaica to move up the value chain, the truth is that solving the productivity puzzle is not going to bring us very far. It will take you so far and no more, because there's a limit to which you can go with being productive in this, doing the same things over and over. If you continue to be a low value, low skill, low technology environment, that can give you so much output and no more. But if you pivot to high skills, high technology, and high value items, then that is when you're going to triple and double and quadruple your output, and you can get more from it. So I am arguing very, very strongly that Jamaica, if we are to solve the developmental challenge in any real way, in any long-term sustainable way, while we get the fiscal in order and we have the precondition for improved growth and productivity, what Jamaica now needs to do is to go up the value chain. And in my final note, I will say, if we are going to go up the value chain, the most important variable that is going to be required is an educated citizenry. Because without that, you are not going to be able to make the innovation and the transformation that is needed to move up the value chain. But I will go a bit further. It is going to need an educated citizenry, not just at the primary and secondary school level. You now have to break into the post-secondary level, because it is at the post-secondary level that you now get the skill set to move up the value chain. At the primary and secondary level, you get the basic infrastructure that is giving you the base for which to build the value chain. And so you learn arithmetic, you learn English, and all of those things. That's the base level. That base level is going to keep you at the low skill, low tech, low value aspect of the development agenda. It's going to keep you at that level. So for you to transition to the next phase, you have to now move most of your people from the primary and secondary level into post-secondary. At post-secondary level is when you get all the critical thinking skills, the networking skills, all of the necessary skills that you're going to require in order now to build value. Because those people who are doing this kind of research in education, they will tell you everything you need to really learn, you're learning it from about 3 to 5 years old. Every single thing you need to learn. But so that period, 3 years old to 5 years old, is critical for the base. And that is why this notion that we need to spend on early childhood, as they call it, is a critical notion and should not be taken lightly. Because if you don't have an early childhood system that is facilitating the development of the child at the 3 to 5 year old level, the truth is that you're going to have a problem when you're moving now up the value chain. So you need that to be fixed, but that cannot be the direction of the end all of policy. That must be flowing into policy to move people along the trajectory from preschool, primary school, secondary school to post-secondary. And when we get a mass of people in Jamaica going through the post-secondary level, it is going to create wonders, because that is where now we're going to see the value added coming in, and that is where we're going to move up the value chain as a country. So, colleagues and friends, as you debate and deliberate over the next few weeks in this competition, I would like for you to consider some thoughts about how Jamaica can move up the value chain. Consider some thoughts about how is it that we should conceptualize our developmental challenge. Should we conceptualize it as productivity, or should we conceptualize it as value added? And there are merits to both arguments. We can debate those. So as you look through this fifth staging of the debate, I'm asking that we provide those opportunities for dialogue on nation building. Again, I want to congratulate the organizers and best wishes for the teams that will participate in the coming weeks, and may the best team win. Thank you.
Professor Williams, thank you so much for that challenge. I enjoyed seeing Jermaine Barrett from Jade just lean forward just a little bit more in his seat as we contemplated that part about how we reimagine the development thesis for Jamaica a little differently. So do not be surprised if something like that just happens to make it in the debate. Maybe not for this year, because I know Jermaine and the Jade team have planned out moods already. But you never know. But what an appropriate charge for a wonderful audience on how we think about Jamaica's development. Thank you so much, Professor Williams. And he did indicate to us that he would have to leave earlier. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to change up the energy a little bit. it's time for the official roll call. Whether you are a returning Titan or a bold newcomer, go ahead, stand tall, represent your team, and let us know you're ready to make your mark. So let's see who is in the competition for the 2026 staging of the Public Sector Debate Competition. Our 2025 champions are returning to the competition. Let's welcome the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining. I don't understand. They don't want us to see them? Okay, all right. Welcome back. We also have returning the Cannabis Licensing Authority. Let's welcome back the Bureau of Standards, Jamaica. All right. Returning, we also have the Water Resources Authority. Let's put our hands together for a returning competitor, the Statistical Institute of Jamaica. Let's welcome back, returning Jamaica National Heritage Trust. Please stand so we can see you. So when I call your team names, listen, we want to capture the celebration. And if you don't stand, your colleagues who are watching online will not be able to see you on the stream. Thank you very much. Let's continue. Returning Jamaica Tourist Board. Welcome back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Returning, we also have the Teaching Service. Okay. Returning third place winners in 2025, the Judiciary of Jamaica. Also returning, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development. Let's welcome back the National Fisheries Authority. NFA indeed. And returning also, the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. All right. Welcome back, Ministry of Industry, Investment and Let's welcome back the National Irrigation Commission. Also returning, we have the Real Estate Board. Returning competitor again, the National Environment and Planning Agency. Welcome back to the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency. Now, we have some people who took a break and now they're back. All right, let's see who we have. Welcome back to the competition, Agro Investment Corporation. Also, welcoming back the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Let us welcome back to the competition the Jamaica Customs Agency. Welcome back to the competition, Accountant General's Department. All right. Also, back in the competition, Administrative General's Department. Back with us, the National Works Agency. And also, back in the competition, Ministry of Labor and Social Security. All right, the People's Ministry. And now we want to welcome the new contenders. They're not here to play around, you know. All right. Let us welcome to the competition the College of Agriculture, Science and Education. New entrant in the competition as well, the Jamaica Trade Board. You see how they came and sat up front? Maybe a sign of things to come. Okay. Joining the competition. Joining the competition as well, Jamaica Bauxite Mining. Okay. Another new entrant, Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency. I think the room felt a little serious a while ago. Yeah? That was a very audible hush. Okay. Now, the other two teams are a part of the public service, right? You might find them interesting. New entrant to the competition, Magotty High School. Not school uniform, you know, but the teachers' debating uniform. Welcome. And also, our final entrant in the competition, new entrant, the Queen's School. Again, you're not seeing the Queen's School uniform, but you see the debate coordination from the teachers. Welcome to the team. All right, ladies and gentlemen, will the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining reel in another win and strike gold in defense of this title? Or, and you see how they made sure to sit up front, or will a new winner be crowned this year? Will a previous winner take the crown again? We're all eager to see what this milestone staging will bring. Stay tuned over the next 3 months. Now, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. The big reveal. Where's my team to support team selection and moot assignment? The excitement is building. The stakes couldn't be higher. And I love this part, you know, I love reading out the moots. And the journey officially begins right now. To help me kick off this crucial part of the competition, my faves are joining me on stage. Welcome from the TIU Communication Specialists, Tamika Gunmighty and Paula Shea Hastings. Are you ready for the battles ahead? All right. When your name is called, teams, I'll invite you to stand. Which box is box A? So, I'm going to draw from box A for the proposition for match 1 and box B for the opposition. But in the next round, I'm going to choose box B for proposition and box A for opposition. Are we ready to go? All right. So, from box A, the proposition is the Real Estate Board. Please stand. And they will be debating Jamaica Tourist Board. All right? So that is our first matchup. Let's go with our... Oh, I have the moots. Your moot is, be it resolved that the narrative that society has failed boys and young men has done more harm than good. Be it resolved that the narrative that society has failed boys and young men has done more harm than good. Let's move up to the second pairing. You know, when they're doing a certain draw on TV, can't match them. Okay. Proposition, Cannabis Licensing Authority. Your opposition will be Water Resources Authority. Please stand, teams. Let's get your mood. Oh, you debated them already? So you're ready? Again? Will it be the same result? Oh, all right. Okay. The moot. Be it resolved that staggered working hours in Jamaica should be pursued as a national workforce policy rather than as a reform limited to the public sector. Be it resolved, I hear you guys, that staggered working hours in Jamaica should be pursued as a national workforce policy rather than as a reform limited to the public sector. Let's go with our third pairing. Okay. The proposition, National Fisheries Authority. And your opposition will be the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development. On the moot, be it resolved that artificial intelligence should be rapidly integrated into public sector decision-making. Be it resolved that artificial intelligence should be rapidly integrated into public sector decision-making. Okay, next pairing. Proposition. Jamaica Trade Board. And the opposition will be, teams please stand when you're called so we can always catch you. The opposition is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Here is your moot. Okay. Be it resolved that the glorification of startup culture is regrettable. Be it resolved that the glorification of startup culture is regrettable. Right? Let's go with our next match. The proposition will be the Jamaica Information Service. And the opposition College of Agriculture, Science and Education. Your moot. Be it resolved that the government should strengthen workplace health and safety standards even if it increases the costs of businesses. Be it resolved that the government should strengthen workplace health and safety standards even if it increases the costs of businesses, the costs for businesses. Good. Next one. Proposition. Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. And the opposition, Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency. Okay. Where might see you? So I see one. Here's your moot. Be it resolved that government services should be quickly digitized, prioritizing online access over face-to-face service delivery. Be it resolved that government services should be quickly digitized, prioritizing online access over face-to-face service delivery. Next one. You know I don't know what number we're at now, right? All right. Our proposition for this matchup will be Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. And the opposition, do I have one or two? Okay. Opposition, Agro Investment Corporation. The moot, be it resolved that public sector institutions should favor innovation and creativity over institutional experience. Be it resolved that public sector institutions should favor innovation and creativity over institutional experience. Okay, wait. Proposition. Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency. And they're up against Jamaica Customs Agency. Let me carefully select the mood. Okay. Let's hear the mood. Okay. Be it resolved that the Jamaican government should significantly expand the use of performance-based contracts in the public service. Be it resolved that the Jamaican government should significantly expand the use of performance-based contracts in the public service. All right. Who's first now? Okay. Let's go for the next proposing team. Proposition. Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining. Remember, defending champions. Opposition. National Irrigation Commission. And here is your mood. You guys played already too? Ooh. It's all love? Oh, okay. And same result? Oh, same. Oh, okay. Well, at least the ministry won't be split in its support. Let us continue. Your mood. Be it resolved that centralizing citizen data delivers greater public service benefits than the risks it creates. Be it resolved that centralizing citizen data delivers greater public service benefits than the risks it creates. Okay. Next matchup. Okay. Proposition. Jamaica bauxite mining. JBM, you're up against, in opposition, the Bureau of Standards Jamaica. Here's the moot. Be it resolved that the Jamaican state should impose stricter controls on minors' use of social media. Be it resolved that the Jamaican state should impose stricter controls on minors' use of social media. Okay. Next matchup, proposition will be Jamaica National Heritage Trust. You're up against Accountant General's Department. And here's your moot. Be it resolved that, on balance, trade unions are hindering rather than advancing a modern public service. Be it resolved that, on balance, trade unions are hindering rather than advancing a modern public service. Okay. Next matchup. The proposition will be the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. In opposition, we'll have the Teaching Service. And here is your moot. Be it resolved that the benefits of a centralized national digital identity system outweighs the risks to privacy and civil liberties. Be it resolved that the benefits of a centralized national digital identity system outweigh the risks to privacy and civil liberties. Next match team proposition is the Statistical Institute of Jamaica. The opposition for this match will be Magotty High School. And let's find your moot. It reads, be it resolved that universal social protection programs are preferable to targeted welfare systems. Be it resolved that universal social protection programs are preferable to targeted welfare systems. Let's go with our next matchup. Ministry of Health and Wellness. You are the proposition, and the opposition will be the Judiciary of Jamaica. Here is your moot. Be it resolved that the role of ecotourism in climate adaptation is exaggerated. Be it resolved that the role of ecotourism in climate adaptation is exaggerated. All right. Okay, I have two remaining over here. Proposition. National Environment and Planning Agency. In opposition will be the Queen's School. Here is your moot. Be it resolved that the pursuit of reparations is not a pointless endeavor. Be it resolved that the pursuit of reparations is not a pointless endeavor. Now for our final pairing. In proposition, the National Works Agency. And your opposition will be Administrator General's Department. All right, which of the two moots will it be? Your moot reads, be it resolved. I love this one. That public sector innovation is best driven through private sector partnerships rather than internal capacity building. Be it resolved. Oh my gosh. I see you, Maria. Be it resolved that public sector innovation is best driven through private sector partnerships rather than internal capacity building. Okay. Those are the pairings for the competition's first round. So, we've wrapped up team selection and moot assignments. Don't worry if you missed jotting down your matchup because, TIU has your back. All match details will be shared later today, so please stay tuned. Now, also be reminded that to get the fans involved, you need to be active on social media and you need to get them involved. So don't forget to vote and remind your co-workers, your friends and colleagues, your family to vote for their social media fan favorite team. This competition, the voting, opens on Monday, April 20th and runs until midnight on July 3rd. So you have a lot of time to get everybody to vote for you. Cast your votes on Instagram at TIU_Jamaica and Facebook TIU Jamaica. Let's get those likes, shares, and hashtags rolling. Let the competition begin, and may the best team win. Ladies and gentlemen, one more important note before we formally wrap up. Registration for training closes today, April 14th. We strongly encourage that at least one member of your team attends a session. This is a valuable opportunity to sharpen your skills, get some insider tips from Jade, and gear up for debate day with confidence. Let's make sure every team is prepared to bring the heat, because this year we're going for... The revelers know what I'm talking about. I'm kidding. We're going for greatness. Yes? Ladies and gentlemen, would you believe it? We are at the end of the official launch of the Public Sector Debate Competition for 2026. Thank you so much for keeping to your commitments, for being a lively and engaged audience. You've truly set the stage for an exciting season ahead. Before you go, please feel free to enjoy some light refreshments. However, you know how we do it at the TIU as well for the Public Sector Debate Competition. Teams, you also need to make your way to the front of the room so that we can get your official photos taken. And for that, we're going to be beginning with the Water Resources Authority. They will be followed by the Queen's School. So, team, from our media colleagues, we can resume the music. But ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the excitement and the fireworks. And I'll see you in the competition.